We should make a waiting dry. I don't know if it already exists, but like a meme of a kid holding a paintbrush, and then have it say, "Try not to get any better." Welcome to Waiting to Dry minisodes. Yeah, where the introduction feels longer than the actual episode.
Yes.
My name is Joshua Lawyer.
I'm Sergio Lopez.
And today we have a topic by Sergio.
Yeah. So this topic, I thought of it because I was listening to this podcast where they talk about movies.
You listen to other podcasts? How dare you?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
WTD 4L.
Yeah.
4L.
I only listen to myself speak.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even listen to parts where you're talking. I just listen to myself.
Fast forward, the 30-second fast forward button or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they were talking about Taxi Driver. They mentioned something that I guess was like people had this theory that
Taxi Driver, the movie.
The movie, yeah.
Not the magazine sold locally to taxi drivers.
Yeah. Taxi and Driver magazine.
This week, Uber pros and cons.
Yeah. It's an ongoing series. So there was some people theorized that either all the movie or part of the movie took place in Travis Bickle's head, and people who made the movie came out and were like, "No, that's totally not what we were going for." But people are still kind of like, "Well, you know, I have my thoughts about it," and it's just like, so it made me think of like the way art is interpreted, just in general. It's kind of like what we were talking about, I think, in the regular episode about how people interpret paintings and what they mean, and like how somebody can talk about this painting. But if the person is alive, they can still like make their case for what it actually means, and people still have the choice to kind of accept that or reject it.
Right.
And it makes me think, because like a lot of times I kind of like to have my paintings be open to interpretation, at least the figurative work. And I like to make art that has that element in it, but it still kind of annoys me when other people like have a set idea that they're kind of get across. And when somebody chooses to interpret it in a different way, for some reason that bugs me. And so I was just wondering, like, how do you feel about people interpreting your work, and like, do you have a specific sort of thing you're trying to get across, and like, does it annoy you if people like interpret a different way than is intended?
So for me, I mean, obviously it's obvious that I try to have like almost like this very clear idea that I'm trying to pursue. Sometimes it's much more vaguer or looser, or
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I have my intentions, and then people, to me, if people interpret my work, I never mind that. Like, I never care. I never get angry or whatever about it. I guess if I had an intention and then someone told me what they thought it meant and it was wrong, and then I was like, well, it actually means this, and then they were like, no.
Right, yeah.
And then I'd be like, well, then fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I mean, the fact that the people that created Taxi Driver? What the fuck Taxi Driver. Shout out to Martin.
Yeah.
We're on a first name basis, obviously. Yeah.
That's not true, or else you would call him Marty.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't know him. Thanks a lot, Sergio. if he comes out and says, no, that wasn't my intention, although you might have like these interesting points and like whatever, yada, yada, like found all these things that you're like, look, this makes sense and that makes sense and this makes sense. So like, obviously this is what they intended. Like you connected a shitload of dots that were unintentional.
Yeah.
That's all fun and like cool and whatever, but like, if they're like, no, then you just have to be like, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's this weird, to me, it's weird when people almost get upset if they're wrong about
right.
But yeah, me personally, I feel like I'm happy when someone does that because it meant that they were willing to take time out to try to understand the work.
Sure.
And then a lot of times that's when like I tell them what it means, and that to me is being like, oh, let me, like I said the last episode, kind of let me show you what I mean, and hopefully it helps you read my work more. And
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen, there's always people who have like these theories about movies and music as well and things like that. And I feel like a lot of people aren't that good at it, or they overanalyze it to the point where they're like making people seem like super geniuses, and you're like, it's probably not that. And, but to me, the point where subjective versus intention gets, I don't know, annoying is when they use it as a way to kind of discredit me, going like, that sucks. Do you know what I mean? When I go like, oh, that sucks, and they're like, well, art is subjective. Then I go like,
oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. It's kind of like, it's like if, it's the equivalent of like, and then there's always the like, well, my kid could draw that, right? Oh, my kid could draw that. And they go, well, he didn't do it first.
Right, sure.
And then yada, yada. To me, it's the equivalent of like, like you ever seen the videos of like kids cutting their hair?
I don't know.
There's videos online of like kids, and the parents are like, they cut their hair and they're like, oh no, and then they cut too. The kid's hair's all fucked up. Right?
Sure. Okay.
That's the equivalent. That's what we're talking about here. It's like if I went to the barber shop and I was like, yeah, give me something that looks good, and then they fucking went to town like a child on my head. Yeah. And then I was like, this shit sucks, and they were like, well, you know what I mean? Subjective, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it sucks. And then I'd be like, my kid could do this. They'd be like, well, I did it first.
Yeah.
It's not a valid response.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, that's where I get mad about subjective, is like when they're like, it's almost a discredit for something sucking. It's like, well, we can't say things suck because it's all subjective. And you're like, but I'm going to say it sucks. Like, because it sucks. Like, you don't get to hide behind these like silly arguments that I don't think are valid. And so to me, that's where I think subjective gets annoying and gets abused.
Yeah.
Because they're pretending that that intention of the artist isn't valuable at all, right. And then on the other hand, subjective to me, I think to me, figuring out the narrative and trying to get better, learning that skill as a viewer of art is great because it adds value to like the experience. Even if you're wrong, it adds value to the experience, right? Like to yourself, not to like anyone else, but to you, you get to enjoy it more because even if you're wrong, you've kind of experienced something more than just looking at something and going like, oh, that's cool. But I think like there's a version of subjective that's I don't know exactly how. I mean, I know there's some ways. Like, okay, let me explain it first. So there's like subjective and music can mean something to me based on the time period I took it in, right?
Okay.
Like the whole whatever. there's like the Nelly song, like, oh shit, I'm going down. You know
Sure,
that song?
yeah.
Like there's like that's attached to like a period of my life that like if I heard that song play on the radio, it immediately brings me back to that, right? I have this built-in memory, built-in meaning to that song that has nothing to do with the meaning of that song, right? So that to me is there's like this inherited value based on that time period of my life attaching itself to this artwork. Same thing with food, right? Tastes like how mom used to make. That is the
Tastes
subjective
like movie theater.
Right, that's the subjective value based on my life experience. Yeah, movie theater. Shout out to Chicken Nuggets. But those are the subjective things about art that I think are interesting and valuable and worth paying attention to as an artist.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of artists use like pop culture, pop art, is a very popular art. They use a lot of like, how many times did they see Marilyn Monroe, right?
Right.
Guys, Free to Call, a huge one right now. It's like, but these things that they kind of attach themselves to, like, I don't know, iconic imagery somehow is attached to human beings in some sort of personal way.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even those are kind of like, like I used a Raggedy Ann doll in one of my paintings. And it's like, I like using Converse or boots as like if someone's wearing shoes, like those are like the two I like using because they have like this nostalgia attached to it that I think.
The boots do even?
I think, well, boots, they have like a couple things, but they're iconic like in how they look, and then they have this like weightedness to them that attach to your paintings. But Converse for sure have like that feeling.
Sure, yeah.
But those like, I don't know if I'm even explaining this good, but there's like all these things you can add to your work that somehow connect to a human being, right? And that's subjective. Like the whole like right, like the like there's like the rendered shit, and then there's like the overall like vibe of the piece, and usually that's kind of like, I don't know, this like if you think of rendering as this like hyper focused thing, right? This is a little bit of how I think about when I'm creating work is like the more attention to detail, like obviously that draws the eye, but it's almost like focusing on, it's like pinpointing importance of the narrative, where like the overall feeling or vibe or mood or whatever the fuck you want to call it, the piece is more about this vagueness that connects people in ways that mood does, I guess. And all those things. See, I don't know. Like, to me, I want as an artist to be intentional when I do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, but yeah, if someone gets something out of it, I don't mind. I guess is the answer.
Yeah. You want somebody to at least make the effort to try and meet you halfway, even if like they're on the wrong path. At least they like started along that road. The
thing I get annoyed about is when people hide behind art being subjective as a way to validate art. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, art is subjective. And you're like, okay, so you like it? Like, is it good or not? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if it's subjective, that means that I get to say if I like it or not, right?
Right.
That's what that gets
exactly.
to be. So then I go, okay, yeah, art is subjective. I think that's good. Do you think it's good, or do you think it's subjective? Like, you don't get to hide. You know, behind the like, art is subjective. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you think it's good? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
and some art is just bad. It's just bad. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, okay, for instance, maybe not all art is bad to everyone, but like, for instance, if I told you to eat drywall, right, you'd be like, fuck no, I'm not going to eat drywall.
Sure.
And so would 99.9% of the world. But there's that one motherfucker that likes to eat drywall for whatever reason. You know those people, like the weird obsession people that eat a fucking drywall thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, so not everyone thinks drywall is disgusting.
Yeah.
But it's disgusting. I mean, I'm not going to give a fuck about the one person who eats drywall. You know, it's like, but in art, it's like, not everything, nothing sucks.
Yeah.
You're like, no, something sucks. You know what I mean? Like in every art form, something sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess if you, instead of saying it's good or bad, can we at least rank art? Like if we go into a gallery and we look at all the paintings in a show, we all have our favorites, right? Can we at least like admit to that?
but there is always going to be a bad. Like there's always going to be like music. There's always going to be a Katy Perry. Do you mean? I'm just kidding. But if you were to like take some version of extreme music or what could be classified as music, you know, like, and like for instance, I mean, even like a kid orchestra, right? Like a fucking young kid orchestra. That shit sucks.
Yeah.
Just because the parents think it's good doesn't mean it's good. It sucks. Except it sucks. It's fine. They're going to get better. It's perfectly fine to pursue getting better at that craft. But for some reason, it's like in art, we have to pat everyone on the back for doing kid doodles. I was thinking about this recently. We should make a waiting dry. I don't know if it already exists, but like a meme of a kid holding a paintbrush and then have it say, try not to get any better. Like a way to make fun of people that are like, art is subjective. Like, and when you're like, a kid can do that. And they're like, well, he did it. Like, just don't, like a meme to a kid holding a toothbrush or a paintbrush, but like, just don't get any better. You know? Like, just don't even try. Like, just stay sucky. Just be as sucky as you are now when you're 50, and and people will think you're good.
Yeah, it's true. You'll be one of those $1 million artists.
Yeah, and as long as you tell people you can paint like Rembrandt, they'll believe you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Picasso.
Yeah.
I just got that recently. Someone just gave that to me. They were like, Picasso.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I don't like Picasso. Like, well, he could paint.
Refer back to episode, I think 20 something where we.
And I was like, no, he can't. He sucks at painting. He sucks at drawing. He's average at best. He's art student level talent. But yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. I shut that shit down quick. But yeah, that was the memos. You know what I mean? Someone get on that.
Plague occurs.
Plague. But yeah, I don't know. That's the shit. Subjective is a word that gets abused. I feel like it's like it's a force field for shit. Do you know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
When if someone looks at artwork and they think it means something, or they interpret it a certain way based on their life experience, I got no beef towards that. But if it's a force field to guard shitty art from being called shitty, then that's when I get upset.
Yeah.
But same thing with art intention, right? I mean, not every artist's intentions are worth paying attention to. They can suck too. And if that's a way to hide behind your shitty art as why your art is good, then you suck just as much. You know what I mean? If you're like, oh, my intentions were to talk about the massacres happening in Darfur or whatever, and you're like, and so I painted this blood splatter on a canvas. It's like, okay, well, not good. God, it still sucks. I don't care if your intentions were admirable or if you even that you worked with intention, it still can suck.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So there's both can suck.
Yeah.
Or be good or be great.
Right.
Yeah. There's, you know what I mean? That's the thing I hate the most.
I see.
Everyone not being willing to be like, this sucks or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird that it has to be like such a binary thing, though, right? Like,
well, it's not for sure. But we have to admit that there's bad. You know what I mean? Just like we have to admit that there's something really good and there's everything in between. But like, there's also, we have to just be like, but there's bad. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's like with everything. There's always going to be like an extreme on each side, and then there's going to be everything in between. And then everything in between is like the 90% of shit is in there. You know, well, hopefully the 90% is in there, and then the shit, like the real trash is like here, and the real great whatever is there.
Right.
And then there's a huge spectrum in between. But you have to be able to admit that something's even like not great, right?
Sure.
Or not good isn't saying it's bad. It's just saying it's not good.
Yeah.
It's mediocre. You know what I mean? Or subpar. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like everything. Just if I say that piece isn't good, good is good. Do you know what I mean? Like, good is above average. So if something's not good, that doesn't mean it's shit. It just means it's somewhere in the gray.
Right. Yeah, I think that the lack of honesty around it is probably the worst part. Where it's like, even those people who think like, oh, it's a good art, like
It's
if they
a good
can't
art.
put,
Wait.
it's a good art.
You gotta cut that. You gotta make one that's where you sound dumb for once. Sergio. It's a good art.
It's a good piece of art. It's a good art or it's a bad art. But those people who will look at that piece of art and be like, oh, it's subjective, it's your own interpretation. Do they have enough conviction to put it on their wall or not? Like, that's where it really like puts the whole idea to the test.
Right.
If they're willing to live with that piece of art.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're like, I like the art, I think it's good, I think it's whatever, that's fine. It's the thought that like, oh, me saying that all art is subjective nullifies your opinion, to me is where I get annoyed. You know, it's like,
okay. Yeah.
it's like you don't get to fucking just like, if I say this art sucks, you don't get to go like, well, art is subjective, and like, okay, so do you think it's good? Like, do you have an opinion, or is your opinion art is subjective? You know, it's like, because that's a boring ass opinion to me. Like, goddamn.
Yeah.
Like, sounds like a milk drinker. Do you know what I mean?
A milk drinker?
I'm just fucking around. I don't know. I just, for some reason, they sound. If you drink milk, you know what I mean. I mean, if you're a milk drinker, it's
like if you just pour yourself a glass of milk and
you're a horrible human being. And milk drink is subjective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still get to hold that opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
No diss. But yeah. I don't know if we solved anything, but yeah, I hate those like dumb arguments. Like I think, did I talk about that TikTok thing where a guy was like, I think we did, where the guy was saying, he was like, oh, my buddy told me, oh, I told him I did art. He's like, oh, are you any good? And I said,
oh yeah.
It's like that whole analogy, and I put like, okay, so you're not good.
Yeah.
And people got so mad, and I was like, you can be not good and still make art. Like, I'm not saying don't make art because you suck.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you suck. Like, just admit it. Be fine with both things. You know what I mean?
That's tough for people to admit.
Yeah, fuck it. I suck at woodworking, but I enjoy the shit out of it. And maybe one day I will be not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. But I will never be great at woodworking.
I see.
So.
You would have to like quit painting and just woodwork all the time, right?
And even then, maybe I won't be that good.
Damn.
It's definitely not like the most natural thing for me.
Oh, okay.
It's just super enjoyable. I like making shit. So yeah, so that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. And if someone who was good at woodworking looked at my shit and was like, "Ooh, that's really bad," I'd be like, "Yeah, but I tried hard.
Yeah.
Tried my best."
You wouldn't be like, that's subjective, bro.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the fact that your child could make it, it's that I made it first.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah. People think too highly of their opinions,
That's probably true.
which they didn't. Most of the time, it's not even like their opinion. It's just something they heard, and then they're repeating, and they never even, put any effort into it. So think about the art you look at, Jamie. Even if you're wrong.
Yeah. Just when you present that opinion to the artist, accept what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like most artists would be fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think any artist would ever go like, no fucking idiot.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
You
Except
gotta
for
be a
now
real
I am.
asshole.
Except for now I am.
You gotta be a real PC to
Real PC.
act that way.
Awesome. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right, guys. That has been a Waiting to Dry mini-sode. If you are still listening, go make an art.